No talks have been held with the United States. The U.S. has insisted in recent days, with the mediation of some neighboring countries, on negotiating with Iran, but Iran has not responded. So they're under threat. They're under threat. The U.S. is going to try to do an invasion, and they're like, yeah, no, we still don't want to talk. Bring it. Despite not providing a response to the American request sent, Trump falsely talked about negotiations with Iran. The false American claim is just a way of escape chosen by Trump to compensate for his loss of face and failure in front of Iran. Trump is in a bit of a pickle. You already know what it is. It's the simple fact that he must keep oil prices down to keep this war ongoing. That, of course, which he wants to do, he aims to do, he is planning to do, and he's currently doing. He's doing that by manipulating the markets. Goes without saying that this is Trump fashion, right? He gets elected president, he immediately does a rug pull on a meme coin for the Donald Trump coin, and then he's not, his appetite is not satiated with that, so he does a meme coin for Melania Trump, his wife, and rug pulls that one as well. This is Trump in a nutshell, right? A scammer, a scam artist that made it to the White House. Really, all politicians are scam artists that make it to whatever position they're in. So it's not too surprising, right? He's just very, very out in the open about it, right? There's like no facade of like, oh, I'm not actually a scammer. No, he wears it on his sleeves, if you will. Well, going into this week, we had reports from the totality of the 22, 23 or so days of the conflict had been going thus far. And at least 23 oil and gas facilities in 9 different Middle Eastern countries had been subjected to military strikes by either Iranian, Israeli, or American forces since the war began. Okay? So 23 oil and gas facilities, of course, the largest ones and the most impactful ones being Iran's South Pars gas facility, the Ras Laffan gas complex in Qatar, and the Saudi Aramco facilities as well in Saudi Arabia. Those were the most impactful. Those were the biggest, and they were causing Trump a very big issue because at a certain point or another, you can't just keep saying that, oh, yeah, the Strait of Hormuz is fine, well and dandy. Just go sail right through it and see for yourself and expect that the markets are going to believe you. You can't keep saying that when ships are getting bombed as they try to sail anywhere near to the Strait of Hormuz, right? So Trump had to come up with a new idea. His new idea is saying that, oh, actually, not only is the Strait of Hormuz chilling, but we're about to end this war. Yes, we are about to end this war. Now, why did he say this? 23 gas facilities and oil facilities hit. Going into Monday, Reuters cited sources saying that Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil exporter, had reduced its crude oil supplies to Asian buyers for April after the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran disrupted trade through the Strait of Hormuz. We also had Japanese stock market crashing 3.9% at opening hours. And what else? Brent crude prices were on the rise at $114 a barrel. So that was going into Monday right before the markets open. And then boom, puff, magic. Iranian victory. Trump says, I'm pleased to report that the U.S. and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which, he spelled which wrong, which will continue throughout the week, I've instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period. Subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions, thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, the reason for the 5-day window is twofold. First of all, he had put up 2 days before a 48-hour deadline in which, if Iran did not open the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. would carry out increased levels of strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure, to which Iran said, try us, we will respond by striking everything. everything that moves at any energy, oil, and gas depots, facilities, infrastructure networks in the Gulf region, which would immediately cause whatever goodwill Trump tried to do with this post to go right out the window, right? Oil markets would boom, gas prices would boom, there would be a global financial crisis. It would be really bad, okay? Not only that, but of course, Iran has threatened other things as well that are even more escalatory, like hitting desalination plants. Desalinated water accounts for like 70 or 90% of the drinking water in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. So that would not be good. And they have like one desal plant that pretty much regulates the whole system. So it'd be very easy to hit. They've also done the meme. They say, we're going to cut the underwater cables, right? The internet cables. So anyways, Trump tweeted that out and he said, 5 days. So this is him backing out of his 48-hour threat. And it is also him giving the U.S. just enough time for the 31st Mechanized Expeditionary Unit, Marine Expeditionary Unit, to arrive in the region. More on that later in another story. But not only now do we have the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is en route. They are set to be there by Saturday, Friday, somewhere in there, maybe in the midnight hours. We also have the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is en route. That is a Boxer amphibious readiness group. And we also have now reports, wow, can you believe it? The 82nd Elite Airborne Division, 3,000 troops in which are expected to also deploy, actually confirmed already deploying to the region. So this is going to be a ground invasion. We're going to discuss that in another story. It's really incredible what they're doing. Likely going to not be targeting Karg Island, but instead they'll likely be targeting Chabahar Bay and establishing a presence there. And from there, where they have an airport, no airports within 600 miles of Chabahar Bay in the southeast of Iran, they will establish their operations. It's a forward operating base in which they can then send troops further and into Iran. So this is the plan. But regardless of the fact, I want to talk about the methodology that Trump had behind this, because it's not just to buy him time. It's also, as I mentioned, to ease the oil markets. Worth noting how much bullshit he's putting out right now. I mean, just 3 days before he announced that, he said this right here: we want to talk to them and there's no one to talk to. We like it that way.
Leaders are all gone.
Their leaders are all gone.
The next set of leaders are all gone. And the next set of leaders are mostly gone. And now nobody wants to be a leader over there anymore. We're having a hard time. We want to talk to them, and there's nobody to talk to. We have nobody to talk to. And you know what? We like it that way.
So that was 3 days before he put out this post, where he claimed that over the past 2 days they'd been having talks. So you expect me to believe that, like, oh yeah, they totally been having talks for a while. Except for the fact that, he literally said that they don't even know who to talk to. There's no one to have talks with, and we like it that way. It's all BS. It's all really nothing but market manipulation, because immediately after he put out this post, the price per barrel of oil dropped to $97. Okay, so it went from $114 as markets opened right down to $97. This is what he does every single week, folks. He does something like this every week. But not only that, this time we had something a little bit more interesting: stock market manipulation. He did a rug pull. Trump said U.S.-Iran talks were productive. S&P 500 up $2 trillion within mere minutes. Iran denied any talks shortly after. Market reversed $1 trillion. Total swing about $3 trillion in an hour. But just 5 minutes before Trump's announcement to halt the attacks on Iran, massive trades reportedly hit the market. In one move, $1.5 billion in S&P 500 futures were bought, while $192 million in oil futures were sold. These orders were 4 to 6 times larger than anything else at this point in time. So yeah, this is classic market manipulation, insider trading. It's not the first time that he's done something like this. It is blatant. It is out in the open. It is obvious. They're doing it in broad daylight, and they do not care that you, the consumer, the least of their concerns, as one Trump official put it on Fox Business earlier this week. Consumers are the least of our concerns. Consumers paying $8 a gallon at the pump, the least of our concerns, right? What they're concerned about is making sure that they hit their weekly quotas of market manipulation and insider trading. Okay, well, the Iranian foreign minister responded, said there are no talks with the United States. President Trump's statements are an attempt to lower energy prices and buy time for military plans. So the Iranians are not, you can't pull a fast one on them. They've seen this all before. They know what's going on. They understand that the U.S. is sending thousands and thousands of troops to the region. Again, 3,000 in the U.S. Airborne, 82nd Airborne Division, 3,000 troops. And about 2,500 probably from the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit and 2,500 from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. So altogether, you're looking at over 8,000 troops, which are headed to the region right now. The Iranian Foreign Ministry put out a longer statement saying, no talks have been held with the United States. The U.S. has insisted in recent days, with the mediation of some neighboring countries, on negotiating with Iran, but Iran has not responded. So they're under threat. They're under threat. The U.S. is going to try to do an invasion, and they're like, yeah, no, we still don't want to talk. Bring it. Despite not providing a response to the American request sent, Trump falsely talked about negotiations with Iran. The false American claim is just a way of escape chosen by Trump to compensate for his loss of face and failure in front of Iran. They added, there were no negotiations with Washington during the entire 24 days of the war imposed on us, and our position on the Strait of Hormuz and the conditions for ending the war have not changed. And now this is the craziest part of all. They are trying to say in the Zionist press that the speaker of the Iranian parliament, Ghalibaf, is somehow engaging in some secret negotiations with the U.S. via Pakistan. This is what they try to do, by the way. It's why you get that Dr. Eli David, that Zionist, ultra-Zionist Israeli Dr. Eli David, and Eyal Yacobi on Twitter, these ultra-Zionists that work for the Israeli government. They claim that the Quds Force commander, I forget his name, Ismail something, they claim that he's like an Israeli Mossad spy, even though he's literally the leader of the IRGC Quds Force. And he is commanding everything, and he's a total, he's like still in power and stuff, and he's still alive, despite the fact that they claimed to kill him several times. So they claimed to kill him several times, and then now they're like, actually, no, he's a Mossad spy. And now they're doing this with the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament as well, Ghalibaf. This is what he was tweeting 2 days ago when they claimed that he was talking to Trump. So they claim, oh, he was doing these secret talks with Trump. Meanwhile, this is literally what he was tweeting. U.S. Treasury bonds are soaked in Iranians' blood. Purchase them, and you purchase a strike on your HQ and assets. We monitor your portfolios. This is your final notice. He said, Iranian people demand complete and remorseful punishment of the aggressors in response to Trump's posts. All Iranian officials stand firmly behind their supreme leader and people until this goal is achieved. No negotiations have been held with the U.S., and fake news is used to manipulate the financial and oil markets and escape the quagmire in which the U.S. and Israel are trapped. He also, during the 2 days in which they claim he was talking to the U.S., he was also celebrating the Iranian strikes on Dimona, and said that Iran had established missile superiority over Israel, and that the war is now entering a new phase due to the fact that Israel can't even provide any defenses, air defenses, for their nuclear city of Dimona. So this is really not the guy that would even be doing something like this. He's not like a ultra reformist liberal in Iran or anything like that. And I think we can round off this story with Professor Morandi, who summed it up quite well in this statement.
Well, there are no talks right now, direct or indirect. I assure you, absolutely no talks. But the Iranians are on their guard. There is no way in the world that the Iranians are going to trust Trump or the Trump regime for even a second. We are at war. This is a war of defense, and we will continue to fight against the two aggressive regimes, the Trump regime and the Netanyahu regime, until they are defeated and until Iran's conditions are met. And Iran is prepared for a very, very long war. Iran has the United States, it has Trump by the throat. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, and the United States can do nothing about it. Even if the United States launches an assault, a land, and tries to take territory from Iran or a foothold on Iranian territory, nothing will change. There is not a chance in the world that Iran will allow oil to go through the Strait of Hormuz without its consent, and Trump knows it. So Iran has the upper hand, and time is definitely on Iran's side. Well, there are.
You heard it there. Couldn't have said it better myself. Nothing's going to change. Whatever Trump's little games are, nothing's going to change. Okay? The U.S. is going to send their troops to Iran. They're going to try to establish a foothold, probably in Chabahar Port in the southeast of the country. But that's not going to stop this blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. And well, I think none of them are fooled, to put it quite simply. I think this is just what they've seen it before, time and time again. And you can't hoodwink them again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, can't get fooled again, in the words of George Bush. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or GiveSendGo. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.